I met with a buyer last week during my 1 hour consultation that I used to get to know him better, what's important to him, as well as explain our process of essentially, educating the client in advance of the transaction. And I asked him if there was anything that he wanted me to particularly cover during the hour. And he said, "Yeah, Corey, I want to know how much you charge, what it was going to cost him to have me represent him." And I thought, wow, that's one, a legitimate question. But two, there's probably other questions that they may have that they're afraid to ask. And so I wanted to go ahead and put together a quick video, essentially the things that I would want to know if I was a buyer today. And I'll start with that first question. The buyer's broker is compensated by the listing broker. So again, traditionally, the buyer has not paid their representation directly. There has recently been a legal challenge to buyer brokers um, compensation agreements, but I don't anticipate things are going to change majorly anytime soon. There may be some bolded or some larger fonts in the California Association of Realtor documents as far as the listing or buyer broker agreement, but I don't think things are going to change much here in the short term. But there is kind of a dual role here that a buyer needs to understand. If the seller is paying for the buyer representation, what stops the buyer from going out and getting the most aggressive representation possible? What stops the buyer from bringing on the person that's going to negotiate the lowest purchase price, or bringing on the agent that is able to negotiate the best terms? Well, the answer to that question is absolutely nothing. Nothing stops the buyer from getting the best representation possible. Obviously, I'm asking you to do that. That's in your best interest. Moving on. Number two, things you would want to know as a buyer. Get pre-approved before you start going out looking at homes. When a buyer is referred to me and they're not pre-approved, I need to turn around, send them right back out, and get pre-approved. Because the last thing I want to do is take a buyer out, show them homes, have them fall in love with the home, and then go ahead and send that address with them to their lender, only to find out that resulting mortgage payment is just way too uncomfortable. So it is wise to go ahead and get pre-approved for a comfortable mortgage payment, and then I'll just kind of reverse engineer it to the price point that we're going to be successful with that's going to allow for a comfortable mortgage payment. So do that. In addition to that, today's seller is pretty savvy. They are now asking for pre-approval letters in order to set up a showing. They essentially say, yeah, I'll let you tour my home once you show me through that pre-approval letter that you have the means and the wherewithal to buy it. And I get it. I get it. So for lots of reasons, get pre-approved first. So number three, don't buy a big ticket item before you go out and shop for a house, especially if you're going to finance the house. Because if you pay cash for a big ticket item, it could likely result in less available cash for like down payment or closing costs for that home that you're interested in later on. Same with the finance. If you finance a big ticket item, you may find yourself being even more challenged to finance the home that you truly do want. So go ahead and save that big ticket item until after you close escrow on the right home. Okay. Looking at number four, and this isn't really a do this or do that kind of thing. This is more of an awareness thing, but it's huge. And that is appreciate that unlike rent, a mortgage has no wasted cash. Once that rent period is gone and that rent money has been paid, it stops. There's no future benefit. A mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is broken up into different parts, all of which really do benefit you. So if you'll think about it, principal, once you pay down the principal and that home's paid off, well, hallelujah, your cost of living just went down enormously. And then there's now, I'm not a CPA, but with the mortgage interest, with property taxes, those, again, I'm not a CPA, but those are typically deductible against your income. So there is tax benefits just by having a mortgage over having a rent payment. So keep that in mind. Like I said, every dollar counts, and then ultimately, you're actually creating wealth by having that mortgage versus a rent payment. And the last thing would be leverage in real estate. So, especially in a finance deal, and of course, property values go up over time. It's a fact. History lets us know that. In a finance deal, so you're going to buy $1 million property, you're going to put 10% down. So you're going to put down $100,000. Well, 5 years down the line, you want to go ahead and sell that home, and that home that you paid $1 million for is now worth 1.2 million, which is very, very comfortable appreciation of only 4%. So very real circumstance. So you bought it at a million, you're going to sell for 1.2 million 5 years later. You sell at 1.2. What has happened? Did you at all ever pay $1 million for that $1 million home? No, you didn't. You actually put down $100,000 and you made the monthly strokes for 5 years, and then at the end when you sold, you got back your $100,000. Your original $100,000 was given back to you, and an additional $200,000 minus the selling fees. That would be leverage. That is leverage. All you had to do was just live in a nice house for 5 years, and you leveraged essentially that 100,000 that you got back, and you actually made $200,000 minus some selling fees. Again, all it was just the monthly mortgage strokes, which again you got that tax benefit as well. So again, leverage in real estate is just absolutely impressive. So if you will, as you get nervous as a new buyer, just appreciate that there's so much more ahead of you in a home purchase than you can possibly imagine. Any questions, feel free to go ahead and give me a call. Thanks so much.